My name is Kathleen Edson, and the focus of our practicum is Napa Youth Development, ages 14 through 18. Other members of our group include Dean Bowen, Jerry Gulley, Fred Crowder, and this is Stephanie Chu, who's helped us quite a bit, and she's from the class of '99. One of our original members, Debbie Accardi, left us in January, and we were very sorry to see her go, and we really missed her presence and wish that she could be with us here tonight to help us wrap up this project. I'm going to tell you about the process we went through that led us to our final product, and our final product is called Nothing to Do in Napa, which, by the way, isn't true. I will be followed by Fred, who will tell you what the project actually is and go over its components. Jerry will show you the product along with Stephanie Chu. She is from New Tech High School. And Dean will follow up with a discussion of how we foresee this project sustaining itself into the future. We started off with a real strict structure when we first began meeting. We had an agenda that we were to follow. I think Fred was instrumental in helping set that up. And we had rules, we had roles, and we had really good intentions. We were serious. And that lasted about 1.5 meetings. And we discovered that a more natural kind of structure was overtaking us, and we decided not to fight it. And we would find ourselves going off on personal tangents rather than sticking strictly to business. And through that process, we really got to know each other, trust each other, learn more about each other. And these digressions allowed us to really learn to respect each other. And we learned about our individual abilities and what we all individually were hoping to get out of this project. So although we all felt frustration that we were meeting for months and months without getting further along, we all gained the confidence to know that through working together and knowing each other that we would close in on a really good final project. Okay, in deciding what the project would be, we explored many possibilities around a theme of coming up with a link or a connection that would connect community, education, and career. And some of these possibilities that we explored included taking on or augmenting what past Leadership Napa Valley classes had done. And we met several times with One Stop Shop and YouthNet and a few others. We talked about sponsoring a career fair or involving the youths themselves in a character forum. We thought about producing a brochure or coming up with some kind of program that could be incorporated into the what school counselors might offer. And what we discovered through this process was that there really is a lot of information out there already. So we decided to produce a website that would incorporate the information and provide one location for youth to go to for direction. And now Fred will tell you more about Nothing to Do in Napa.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm Fred Crowder, and one of the things that I found that Kathleen talked about how we spent so much time visiting with one another and talking, and we didn't seem to stick to business very well. But that was 90% of this whole process for us. It was amazing. We were trying to find common ground with one another. We were trying to get to know one another, trying to find out what our skills were, and trying to find a level of acceptance with one another. In some ways, I think we're still looking for that. I'm not quite sure. But we were doing the forming, storming, norming kind of thing, having lots of meetings and waiting for our vision to come to us. The main thing for us was that we didn't want to recreate the wheel. I think all of us, in the course of going through our projects, is we wanted to do something great, wanted to do something special, wanted to do something new. But when you get together with a group and you start talking about this stuff and what you want to do, it's like, well, I don't know. It's really hard. And on top of that is that you want to do something that's new and that's special. And so for us, the process was largely a project, because we found that once we hit on something that was common to us all, something that we all believed in, something that got us excited, the project went very, very quickly. And when Stephanie came in on it, the project came together in about 2 weeks. It was amazing. But for us as a group, for us as a group, we realized for us that we felt very strongly about youth and wanting to help youth. Wanted to find ways to highlight leadership opportunities for youth. We felt that this was ways that we could build bridges to their future. We wanted to find areas to help them develop. These are areas that we all find that are common to us for development also. The 3 key elements that we came up with were education. It's important to further your knowledge. Career and business. These 2 things, if you have a job, you can be, that equates to independence and self-determination. I think that's very important for youth to have a feel for that, or have a feel of control, and to have some kind of a mechanism to pursue that path. And then community, whether you're participating in a sports event, whether you are assisting the community for those who are in need, or if you yourself are somebody who's in need and you take advantage of the services of the community. We felt that these 3 elements were critical. We started researching. We started looking around and going, well, let's bring all this together. How do we want to do it? One of the common things that we hear here in Napa amongst the youth is that there's nothing to do in Napa. And for us, we kind of looked at that and well, that's absurd. There's a lot of things to do here in Napa. And so we tied that in with what we had here. And we felt that by bringing this all together into one single format, that we would be able to produce something that's common to our vision that we get really excited about. The interesting thing was that we started to research this stuff, and we started making contacts and meetings with our community partners. Century 21, Youth Diversion Program, One Stop Shopping, in the educational community. We found that pretty much all the material was already out there. Our work had already been done for us. When I walked into Lewis's office and I saw his drawers and files full of the community information and activities that I was searching for, I just went, whoa, my project's over. This is done. And so the vision came together right there. And we realized that we needed to put this up and bring all this information together in some kind of a format. And we decided to create a website. The Nothing to Do in Napa website. And it's nothingtodo.org, as you can see down here. And one of the checks that we needed, and one of our community partners that we needed, was the youth. Because here we are, adults coming in and looking at the situation here in Napa and saying, well, this is what youth need. And so we went out to the schools and we talked with youth. And we presented them with our idea, presented them with our vision, and to see if they would share our vision. And sure enough, they did. It was very well received. And like I said, bringing our community, working with the community partners and making use of the knowledge that is already existing out there and bringing it together in new ways, I think was a great catalyst for our whole project and for our excitement for what it is that we're doing here. Some of the issues, some of the issues that we have concerns with, and Jerry's going to go into, well, actually, Jerry's going to talk a little bit about these, is how to create interest in this particular site. If it's not used if it's not of interest, then it's not going to be of much use, and it's not going to create or accomplish our goals. He's going to talk a little bit about access, and then Dean is going to talk about maintenance of the site and sustainability. And turn that up. From the decidedly low-tech to high-tech.
I'm not sure how many of those things I'm going to talk about, but thanks for setting me up. We'll see. In the development of the site, you'll notice we use the image of a puzzle.
Watch where you point this.
We use the image of a puzzle because that really that demonstrates how our goal was really to bring all the pieces together for youth in the community. And along with the 3 areas that we mentioned before that we tried to address, putting this into a web format, we thought that there needed to be a little bit more interactiveness and another level of depth. So examining the content, We have a site map, which basically just tells you how to get around the site. We have education, which will provide links to scholarships, college information, college websites, things like that. News online will link to Napa News, the Napa Register's website, as well as any other local news site. We have a message board. We have information about this site where it also explains who our community partners are and their role. Activities lists everything from local sports leagues to movies, theater, anything like that. Student work gives listings for part-time and summertime work. And career and business is a complete listing of local internships. As we've all mentioned, something that was really important to us was to involve youth at every level and not just kind of take this arrogant approach and say, okay, this is what we think is the best for you, this is what we think you need. And that kind of led us to working with Stephanie, who I think is really the star of our group. I mean, basically created the website for us. So Stephanie's going to take a minute and kind of touch on what the experience was like for her and what her involvement was.
Well, Nothing to Do in Napa is a very special project for me. First of all, I chose this project mainly because it touches upon people in my own age group. And I have a lot of friends who need to, hang out and say, there's nothing to do, So I thought if I contributed to something like this to help the community, then they wouldn't be able to say that anymore and they would have more things to do. And this was a personal benefit to me because I had to do a senior project at Tech High, and the process of this project was a part of my senior project. And I passed. Well, I really enjoyed making this site. For my internship and job, I'm a graphic designer, web designer, and this project was just brought to me by my mentor, boss, Dean. And well, it all came together really fast, and just making the website and knowing that this project will help people in my own age, people in my class, and people in junior high as well. I mean, it's just great, and I know that a lot of people here in Napa will benefit from this. And later on, after I go to college, and there's still going to be people being affected by this, and that's the reason why it's important. And it's going to keep growing and growing. I know that, and I'm going to keep it.
Our biggest focus for our group is that all the projects that we and the community partners that we dealt with, we found that most of the work was done by the adults, through the adults, to benefit the youth. And our biggest frustration was that, well, if it's for the youth, where's the youth voice? Where is their participation? Where is their ownership? And part of what we saw the other groups doing, we felt that we could do two things. One is piece the puzzles together, or the islands, and bridge them together, and also involve the youth in an intricate part. What we have to address for our project for sustainability, or to make this continue to live, we had 4 major items that we had to address. One is that within the websites have to be hosted on servers, and they have to be maintained, and they have to be updated to make information current. There's also monitoring the information, and most people look for some type of compensation for their efforts. Well, for the hosting, currently that's being waived because local businesses contributing to that. Updating the website, currently we have the shell of the information and the content from Lewis from the Youth Diversion. We're including almost all of their content for that, actually all of the content for the youth side. There's the, was it Century 21 project, or what's, Barbara, what's 21st century. 21st century, which is getting involvement of the youth into businesses and careers and internships and other local school internship programs. Also looking at Terry and the Human Health Services. They're looking at also getting youth involved in a board, or the correct terminology is
A youth commission.
youth commission for things of what's happening with the youth. So we're really looking at, again, not recreating the wheel, but taking these key components that our community is developing and working on, but involving youth and finding ways to get them involved with this. And that's where we feel that the youth are going to participate in the updating, which we're going to be stepping in and teaching them the technology and content management. So also creating some skill sets with them that they're going to be able to benefit with, either going on to other jobs or things too. The monitoring the website is really important because, as you know, many of you have gone to websites where the content doesn't change. There's really no use to go back to it. You've seen the film before, why go back unless it's one of those things that you just got to go back and quote again and again and again. And compensation is that we anticipate through the contributions of our partners and also through internships and other things available, that the youths are going to benefit a few different ways. One is that their compensation is as internships for companies that are web development or content specific. They're looking for employees that have specific skill sets in, one, either maintaining websites, large websites that have content, or two, that have the skill sets that maintain that content. And so we believe that through participation of Nothing to Do on the technology side and the content side, that they're going to develop those skill sets, and also from funding that we're going to be looking for from the community that will also compensate them. As Fred mentioned, that we really started off with saying, what is the ideal citizen in our community? Well, we felt that an ideal person was involved or aware of what's in the community, that they weren't just like taking from the community of, like, kids, if they're running around on a high school's roof and they get caught by the police. Well, there's their involvement with the community. Or if they're doing something after hours and they get caught by the police, then they're aware of the community participation. If they have to go to school because they're truant, they see the involvement of the community, but they don't see what's available in regards to activities, things that they can contribute to their society, what the community is doing. So we looked at that ideal citizen is that they're aware of the community and that are contributing to it. Two is that education, whether it was formal education through at college, university level, or simply increasing your education on reading good books, improving your skill sets, basically improving your mind. And whatever that means to the individual, we're really encouraging the youth that education for the sake of learning and knowledge is good, whether it's formal or informal. And also career, we saw that as a key component or a characteristic of a contributing member to our community, that if they're gainfully employed, that not only are they going to be able to have the confidence in themselves and also to be able to buy and purchase things that they're interested in, but also their tax dollars are going to go to things like schools, roads, other things that are benefiting the community, health and human services, our police department, things like that. And that they can know by just the fact of being gainfully employed that indirectly their community is benefiting as well. And through the website, we feel that that's going to be accomplished. Now, actions that are left for us to do are a few things. One is that we have formed a board for the Nothing to Do, which is the four of us, and we're also going to be looking for our business partners and our community partners to join us with them. We have a substantial amount of content that still needs to be included in the website. We anticipate within the next 2 weeks that content will be included and be available to the public. We want to work and commit a very good amount of our time to the youth diversion with Lewis and the things that they're doing. The verbiage is a little bit different than what we see it is, but the meaning and the grasp and the meat of what he's doing is there, so that's why we've chosen that portion. And what I mean by that, when kids come to the website and they hear youth diversion, they're not going to go, oh well, gosh, I'm an at youth risk, so let me go here. This is for me. But the content, regardless of the status of the youth, is so valuable, and so we've committed to that. Also, we've just learned recently with Terry and her involvement in the youth and the community, and getting the board put together with 2 youth from each of the local high schools involved in what's happening in the community in education and careers and what's happening there. So we see that as a huge commitment that we're going to be able to work with already existing programs that they have going forward to see an obvious link there. There's other many programs, youth networks, there's the one-stop shop, there's Boys and Girls Club. All of those, again, are out there providing content, and we look very closely at them and found that there's ways, again, to bridge all the information that they're sharing through our information site, or there's really nothing to do. Well, we're able to show that there's many things to do. The benefits, again, our whole goal is to increase awareness. Awareness for the youth, awareness for parents, awareness for schools, and awareness in the community of all the events, the activities, and the things that are available for our youth. I think that a lot of times that they're only aware of, if they're involved in community, they're only aware of that. They're not involved or aware of education or career opportunities. Looking for a time. The skill sets that will come out of this, not only from us as a board, but also for the youth, we see that they'll be able to learn management skills. They're going to also increase or fine-tune their technology skills. And also, youth are going to be contributing to the youth. It's not adults formulating and handing down to youth saying, here's something for you that we've created for you, now use it. Whereas we see that the whole vision is that the youth will be contributing in this participation. Will, the whistle. Justification. Justification for continuing our project is 2 good quotes. Every boy in his heart would rather steal second base than an automobile. We feel that children cannot love what they do not know. They cannot miss what they have never experienced. And I know, being born and reared here in Napa, my wife being born and reared here as well, and many other people in the community, that we're definitely looking for information that's available for us. So we bring you nothing to do and nothing.